Friday, everybody. Hopefully, everyone's doing well. Welcome to Friday's edition of Wellness Week. Today, we're going to be talking about nutrition. Our theme is take a moment to nourish yourself. So, that is why I am joining you from my kitchen. We're going to be joined by our Aramark dietitian and healthcare project specialist, Yvanna. I'm going to let her in. She's just going to request to join, and I'll let her in on the talk. But today we're going to be covering a bunch of different things. One of them is going to be Canada's food guide. We're kind of going to give you a couple tips on this food guide, but it's going to be all about nutrition. So I'm just going to let Yvanna in here. Like I said, Yvanna Mesic is a dietitian that's working with Aramark, and she's a healthcare project specialist. Hi, Yvanna. How are you?
Hey, Chris. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well. I'm in my kitchen, so I'm ready for the tips.
Oh, excellent. You have a much better backdrop than I do.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm just at my office here at Brock University, where I'm currently stationed for my next, position, next placement.
Awesome. So I guess today we wanted to kind of touch on a couple different things, but do you want to just do a little intro about yourself? Like a quick little hello and kind of what you do with Aramark and some of the colleges and universities?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me on for Wellness Week. And hello to all of the Seneca staff and students. My name is Yvanna Mesic, and I'm a registered dietitian with Aramark, which is a food service company. So I've dabbled in a little bit with healthcare, so doing some like projects with hospitals and long-term care. Right now I'm at Brock University, so with their higher education account, and I'll be their on-site registered dietitian, helping students out with any food allergies or food restrictions while they're staying here, living in residence, and yeah, just trying to make their stay as easy and like home as we can, even though some of them are living quite far away from home.
Right. Awesome. Now, I'm assuming that you guys use Canada's food guide a lot, whether you're educating students or staff about healthy eating. Do you want to touch a little bit about Canada's food guide? Like there's been an update to it, right?
Yes, there has been. So it was actually January 2019. So here is the new Canada's food guide. Some
Awesome.
of you may remember the old one, which was the rainbow, and it had four stripes. We had the fruits and vegetables, the grains, dairy had its own little stripe, and meat and alternatives. But now with the new one, they combined the meat and alternatives with the dairy into 1/4 of the plate. Next, we have our grains at the bottom, 1/4, and then half our plate are the fruits and vegetables. And I really like to use this model because everyone eats off a plate and not a rainbow.
Sometimes I don't.
Oh.
But yeah, it's a good visual for sure. With how it's divided up and everything.
Yeah, it's a fantastic visual because when I'm planning my meal mentally, I like to break it down into those 3 categories and pretty much go from there. And this is really helpful. I know when I was a student, just to see, okay, what do I have on hand in my pantry? What's in my fridge? What's going bad? Looking at the best before dates and just combining what I have to the best of my abilities to make a complete and healthy meal. So starting off, we'll go through our fruits and vegetables, which are an excellent source of fiber and antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, just all of those. Oh, as well as hydration. They're a fantastic source of hydration as well.
Right.
And what I really like about them is, so right now, living in Ontario, it's peach season.
I love peaches.
Peaches are in season right now and grown locally. And right now, the food prices of them are, pretty good because they're in season and they're fairly economical. But let's say come December, you know, there's no peaches growing on the trees in Ontario. Instead of going to your fresh area at your local grocery store, you would head to the frozen area instead to find the peaches, because the great thing is the frozen fruits and vegetables, they're typically harvested at their peak ripeness. So that's great because they have all of the additional vitamins and minerals that they get from the ground naturally and what they get from the sun. Instead of, let's say, buying a fresh peach in December, which was grown not locally, you know, pretty far down south, let's say maybe Mexico. And when it's picked in Mexico, it hasn't had the time to fully ripen and get all those vitamins and nutrients naturally, because it has to take that really long trip, let's say by boat or by truck. And by the time it makes it to our grocery store, we don't want it to be rotten or moldy. So in that case, not only is it more economical to buy frozen, especially in the winter months, but you're still getting just as much nutrients, if not more, comparing it to some of the fresh items that you'd.
I guess probably keep an eye on the packaging details and make sure it's like a product of Canada or.
Yes, absolutely. So
where would you find that on the package?
I don't have any fresh or frozen veggies with me, fruits, but we can go on to our grains next. So right now I have a bag of rice pasta.
Okay.
And you can typically find it at the back where it was, I guess, manufactured. So there, actually, this is the shipping. Oh, actually, it's made in Canada. So I'm not sure if you guys can see the little maple leaf and if this is even legible or backwards, but this product is made in Canada.
Usually on the back by the nutrition label, that's where to look for it. Sometimes on the front, but
yes,
that's good to know. Like, don't get tricked into buying frozen peaches that are coming in from Mexico, right?
Right.
Check the back. Yeah.
Hey, if you need them, you need them.
Yeah.
Depending on what recipe.
Awesome. And as far as the frozen stuff, they're usually pre-washed. So I guess you're saving some time there as well.
Yeah, they're pre-washed. They're ready to cut up. No pits in them. So they're fantastic for, let's say, smoothies. You know, or if you like oatmeal, you can always throw it into your oatmeal when you're making it on the stove. And that adds a little bit more water, so it might be more runny. So you can just add a little bit more oats to add more flavor and fiber and just those added benefits that peaches provide us. Perfect.
Now back to Canada's Food Guide. If you're building a meal based off Canada's Food Guide, could you kind of give us a walkthrough of how you would do that? Say you're coming home from studying all day at school and your brain's fried, can't make any decisions. How do you use Canada's Food Guide to put together a balanced meal? Maybe if you can give us an example of the meal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say, for example, we have some, I don't know, leftover chicken from the night before that was roasted. And as we know, chicken gets a little bit dry the next day. So what I love to do is, you know, pretty much listen to my satiety cues. Okay, like how hungry am I feeling? Am I, you know, really starving? Like I really want a filling meal. And if that's the case, then I'll typically think of, okay, what are my grains that I'm going to use? Do I want a pasta? Do I want to make a stir fry? Or if I want maybe like a little bit of a lighter meal, then I'll chop up that chicken and put it on a salad. And it doesn't necessarily have to be greens, like a green salad. Right. You can add it to, let's say, a quinoa and just throw in some extra like roasted vegetables in with that quinoa. So you're still getting your vegetables with your salad, but you're adding a little bit of grains. And I love quinoa because it's a complete protein, meaning it has all 9 essential amino acids. Right. Which is what you typically find in animal sources, but quinoa is is a plant source, so that's fantastic for any vegans or vegetarians. And then if we switch back to either the pasta or the stir fry, it really, depends. Okay, what do you have on hand for, let's say, a sauce?
Right.
For the pasta, you could do like a really nice pesto. If you're living at home right now and before you come into school, if your parents or grandparents, or if you yourself are able to buy a basil plant, you can make your own homemade pesto and then just freeze that. And if you are making it at home, the pesto, just adding in those, healthy fats from the olive oil. So let's say extra virgin, making sure it's cold pressed. So that way, all those fantastic vitamins and nutrients that are present in the olives before they're pressed into olive oil are still present, because when oils are heated or refined, they lose a little bit of that nutritional benefit sometimes, depending on the oil, of course.
I'm just going to jump in there. If you could suggest, or what's your rule of thumb for using oils for cooking versus salad dressing? Something that's easy for everyone to remember.
I'd say honestly, it's not too picky. You don't really have to be too careful. So over here I have some Colavita extra virgin olive oil. Oh, and just a little disclaimer, all of these products, I'm not, highly recommending. This is just what I had on hand from home. So
right.
Neither myself or Seneca or Aramark are promoting any of these products. So yeah, we have some extra virgin olive oil over here. Avocado oil is fantastic as well. This one on the label, it's great. It's cold pressed, so meaning it still has those fantastic healthy fats in there, and it says high heat cooking. So this one's perfect for cooking as well as salad dressing. And lastly, the oil that typically gets a bad rap because it's a little bit more refined is our canola oil. But between canola oil and extra virgin olive oil, they're a really good source of our omega-3s that we typically find in, let's say, a fish oil supplement, or nice fatty like salmon or mackerel. But these are just some other sources that you can find these fats in. And one thing that I saw doing a little bit of background reading in regards to the oils, even though they are calorically dense, nobody's really guzzling back, let's say, a whole cup of olive oil. So even though it does have a lot of calories to it, there's really, let's say, 1 teaspoon of olive oil has about, I think it's 100 calories. So let's say on a 2,000 calorie diet, that's only really 4% of your total day intake.
Right.
Or if you're cooking, let's say for yourself or some roommates, if you use a little bit more, then that's divided up into however many portions you'll be serving.
Right. But probably be aware of, if you're just freehanding it, pouring it in a salad or cooking with it, then definitely be aware of what a teaspoon and a tablespoon looks like. Yeah. There's a big difference between a teaspoon and a tablespoon, right?
Yes.
Which you can't really tell when you're just adding it on top, but that's a good point, just to kind of keep aware of it. So you have you said your protein alternatives, your fruits and vegetables, you said?
Yes. Yep.
And then what was the third?
The third one was grains. Also for proteins, I use chicken as an example, but let's say you don't really have any proteins on hand, or you're vegan or vegetarian, you can always stick to, let's say, eggs or beans, or just to add a little bit more protein to, let's say, a salad. You can always add like, let's say, walnuts or almonds or any kind of nuts that you have at your disposal, just for a little bit more protein, more texture, and with that texture comes more fiber.
Awesome. Perfect. Now, if you're not privy to making your own salad dressings or sauces, is there kind of a rule of thumb for sodium intake for the average person?
As far as sodium, the upper limit, oh my goodness, I forget the number. I believe it's 2,300. Don't quote me.
Right.
Um, but really just reading the packages and you know, even though you may be cooking with salt, it's kind of hard to go over your sodium intake. Let's say if you're eating like super clean, for example, but if you're using a lot of packaged products, so let's say the pastas, for example, or even salad dressings, or like stir fry sauces, those are where the hidden calories as well as sodium is kind of hiding for
Right.
most of us, and we don't realize it because we're like, oh, it tastes so good. But yeah, just keeping that in mind and reading the label. Also, one thing when reading labels, make sure to look at the serving size because what the label might say is not exactly how much we're eating. So
Right.
that's one thing to
Right.
be mindful of.
Yeah, it's funny when you have a bag of something, right? And you're just putting your hand in, and then you look at the back, and it's like 26 chips, and you've eaten about 126.
Right,
Uh,
exactly.
uh, some of the serving sizes are pretty hilarious to take a look at. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
definitely not realistic.
no. And who like opens a bag of chips and puts 26 chips out and says
Right.
that's all I
I don't
need,
think
right?
anybody's counting 26 chips.
No, it doesn't happen. I find though, like fruits and vegetables, almost the opposite, right? Like you look at what a serving size is of say you have watermelon,
Hmm.
and you can eat like how many cups of watermelon, and it's not very calorically dense, right? So
Right.
um, usually it's the stuff that comes in packages that are higher in calories, but that always throws me off. Like raspberries, same thing, right? How much fiber there is in a cup of raspberries.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I guess a tip is for coming in September, if you're packing your lunch bag either for work or for school, is throw those fresh fruits and vegetables in because they go a long way. Tons of
Yeah.
nutrients to
Don't be
enjoy.
scared of fruits. Like, not saying go overboard, but if there's one takeaway that I'd like for everyone to have is be mindful of portion sizes because of course, we get super hungry those days, and other times we really don't feel like eating. Let's say, we're
Right.
coming down with a cold or something, and our appetite just isn't there. But, listen to your body and try not to, let's say, over or underdo it. There's a good balance. And the thing is, if you listen to your satiety cues and you listen to your body, then it's kind of hard to mess that up. And secondly, an important takeaway is just add variety. Add as much variety to your diet as you can. So switch up those fruits and vegetables. Switch up the grains. If you had, let's say, white pasta last night or a couple nights ago, and you feel like having pasta again, go for, let's say, a whole grain, or what, you haven't tried a rice pasta, give it a go.
Right.
And same thing with the oils and protein, just try and add as much variety as you can because, you know, as NUN, you have your favorite foods, you stick to what is comfortable and easy to make, and that's fantastic. But let's say you have a favorite pasta recipe, maybe add in, I don't know, like some zucchini to that, or extra broccoli, some peppers, just to add in those extra nutrients and fiber, taste, texture.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or if does Aramark have a website for some of the? I don't know if they have like a website with recipes or suggestions.
They have
Do you
one
want to?
called liveitgood.ca. So they have some really good articles. I actually just saw one this morning that came out relating to gut health and food, and just some really good connections there. they're really short. It's really short, to the point, concise, and they also have some really great recipes as well. So I highly recommend that you guys check it out.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Yvanna. Appreciate your time and your expertise and all the tips. Yeah, we'll probably do another one in the near future, but we really appreciate you coming on and giving us some insight on what you do and kind of some tips for students and staff going into September and the busier time of year. So appreciate it, and hope you guys can take a bit of information out of this and nourish your bodies this afternoon, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
See ya.